Welcome back, everybody, to Talk of the Now podcast. And my name is Gene. And tonight I'm going to have Jason coming in soon. I've already sent him an invite. Hopefully, he'll come on soon. We're trying to figure out our situation with recording the podcast, and we had a slight bump in the road trying to do it through Skype. So, doing it with Zoom, and hopefully, he's going to join at any moment or any time. Jason, if you've listened to previous podcasts, you know by now that Jason has been promising to get a new computer for about, since we started, and has yet to get one. And so when we tried to do, oh, wait, here comes Jason now. I think he's coming. His computer, I think he's out pushing his computer. He's trying to pop the clutch. He's trying to pop the clutch. Can he get it? I think he's getting
Oh
it.
yeah,
He popped the clutch. Oh yeah, it's going.
now it'll work. For some reason,
Yeah.
it won't update to the newest version of Skype because my computer is so old. So it won't run the old one. The old one keeps crashing the computer. So
Did it tell you we're recording, Jason?
Yeah, I figured you were.
Aha! I had to start without you. Well, I was telling the good folks at home that you've been promising to get a computer since we started, and so
I know.
hopefully by the time Jason's retired, he'll get a new computer, and
yeah, maybe.
we'll get it started.
Let me see if I can change my lighting here a little bit.
You look like you're old school. You got the window open back there, waiting for Barney to come up to the window and say hello.
That's right.
Now it's like Barney has his flashlight on you.
Yeah, I know. Like,
oh
man, there goes the video. Oh well.
Well, I see you.
Yeah, we'll just leave it like that. I'll be kind of.
It's not too bad.
I do have this weird glowing orb lamp. Whoa.
Now Jason's gone noir on us.
No.
noir night for Jason.
That's right.
It
was a dark night. No. I have to get some lamps in this new office of mine. That's the problem I don't have. So I'm having to use this overhead light, which is not the most flattering thing in the world.
I think you could get a lava lamp, put it back there, and get you some of those 60s lights that you flash on the back. They kind of make it look like a Jefferson Airplane video.
That's right. When the truth is gone, to be in light. Oh, sorry.
I don't know if I've got any. See, we were going to do Skype, and Skype has some funky little.
Yeah, I mean, Skype is cool. Yeah, Skype is cool. You can.
I got the San Francisco Bay Bridge behind me.
Yeah, and half of your distance viewers. Whoa.
I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah, you're hanging out with Laurie and Greg. Yeah.
And now we have the
Northern Lights.
The Northern Lights. For people that are on video, you're not getting the full. Of course, I have been the most slacker of slacks. I keep asking myself, why is the YouTube channel not growing? And I've only put like 15 of the 70 videos. Jason, we're let me double check. We have reached the 70 mark. This is not the 70 mark. We have already posted the 70 mark. The 70 mark was our Star Wars Part 3, and today is Star Wars Part 4.
Or that, yes.
I don't know. Jason, it's been kind of rainy here. Might go a little sideways tonight. We'll see.
It's a family show, Gene. Come on. Yeah.
Northern Lights. I got to go to the gallery view here so I can see my Northern Lights.
There you go.
Something that I don't know.
Oh, there
I'll ever see.
Yeah, you're all trippy and disappearing into the background too.
And it cuts you off at weird points, like you might just have a half finger at a time or something.
Yeah.
Let's make it blurry. There's my blurry.
There you go. Just blurs your background. Yeah.
How many podcasts have messed with their backgrounds before? I'm sure plenty.
Some people just have a backdrop hanging up. Maybe eventually you'll get one, printed out, Gene. You can design your own logo. Whoa.
In the forest.
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Now I'm in space.
Now we're just 10-year-olds playing around with our stuff.
There's somebody in their car driving around there saying, why am I listening to these? Why am I listening to these idiots? What's wrong with me?
Gene is a giant laying on a beach.
What is? I've made the wrong life choices. I'm listening to two goobers on the podcast. Come back in. I kind of like this ocean view here.
Well, that's interesting, Gene.
Sometimes when I'm doing
apropos for the time of the year.
sometimes at when I do my work Zoom meeting, somebody will have this background, and it's just so, I can just see somebody actually doing a work Zoom meeting on the beach. And this were real.
And thinking it's somebody thinking it's just a background. Can you change your background? No, I'm here at the beach. Like,
You get some new earbuffs.
I just don't have I normally use my Apple earbuds, but I'm using my studio ones from a company that
It's not named Apple.
no, it's not. And these are from I can't remember the name of the company, but One Dio actually. They're actually really good. So
Oh, One Dio, they were a decent '90s band. They were bad. Remember One Dio? No.
no. But yeah, that's they sound pretty good. They're nice. I like over the ear earmuffs. Or earmuffs.
Earmuffs. Well, I was going to say earbud, and then muff came out, so I said earbuffs.
Earbuffs. Oh, people are really questioning their life choices now. Listen to it.
Speaking of life, people that
Yeah.
question their choices. At your wedding, I don't know if I told you this story.
Oh Lord, here we go. Another Gene story from my wedding.
I met. Yes. I'm just kidding. I didn't meet anybody. I met one of your friends, but that's not the story. Story is, our mutual friend Monty. Shout out to Monty. You know who you are, Monty. He was talking to me, and apparently he is a fan of the show.
Is he now?
Perhaps one of our most loyal. I don't know. So, Monty, you're probably driving right now, and you're getting your name spoken over your radio. He was telling me that he listened to podcast on his way to work, maybe while he works. I don't remember. But he was asking, he said he loves our podcast. He said he listens to it a lot, and he likes our banter, our witty banter that we do. And I asked him what he likes about it, and he said that he just likes the different things. He said he likes the history aspect, which I've been slack on doing my history moment podcast every now and then I want to do. I'm contemplating doing a podcast on a series perhaps as a side. Now, see, I already do a side one on theology, which I need to get back to, but I'm possibly thinking about doing one on history, which would be about the founding fathers.
Oh, good.
Specifically, right now, I don't have it with me, but I'm reading a book by a guy named Flexer, who did a 4-volume set on George Washington. And so George Washington might be the one that I start with, because I've always been fairly ignorant of Washington, other than knowing that he's the first president. The legends we've all heard that aren't true, like chopping the cherry tree down, never told a lie, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Wartime general. Yeah.
Yeah, wartime general, etc. But it's interesting. The book, I'm about 70 pages in, and one thing that's interesting about him that I've noticed compared to other people, I read John Adams' book,
right,
and with these people back then, they were. I'm sure you had people that didn't, but we'll call them the educated class of that time. Is it voluminous? Is that the word I'm trying to come up with? Like when you're a voluminous reader, volume. How do you say that?
Voluminous. Yeah.
Voluminous. You read a lot.
Avid.
These reader. People wrote a lot. They wrote a lot about their lives, and they documented a lot of things. John Adams apparently had almost a whole library full of his just scribblings and writings about life and philosophy. George Washington, though, you know how much I got from the time he was born. This is a 4-volume set. Time he was born up until his famous there's a famous part of his life where he's called by the army to go check out the Alleghenies, go over into the Ohio Valley. That's kind of where you meet him as adulthood. That's only 56 pages in. So I only got about 56 pages worth of his growing up time.
Yeah.
Which I just found, surprising, that I was thinking that maybe half the book would be about all the way up to when he became, into his 20s, but there just wasn't a whole lot of information there.
Yeah, probably not. Yeah.
Just very interesting to me.
Mhm.
that the guy is, So anyway, well, Jason,
Yeah.
listen, everybody. Jason called me here. He didn't call me. He texted me. He said, "Gene, we doing a podcast?" And I said, "Sure, why not?"
No, no, no.
Um,
To be accurate, I said, "Are we casting our pod
he
tonight?"
did say that.
Yes.
And so, Jason, why are we here? I didn't even call it today.
Because we
I
haven't.
know there's got to be something on Jason's mind. So I'm just gonna
No, we haven't been here in a while. That's why
see what you're up
was
for.
just like, I need to talk to Gene, in an official manner.
Ah,
Um, but yeah, other than that, yeah, no, I don't have any. I don't have any
well,
ideas. I'm waiting for
have you ever? Go
Mister
ahead.
Spontaneous over there to come up with a topic.
I've come up with 98% of our topics here
You know,
on Talk of the Podcast.
well, I mean, we talked about talking about Iceland, but I don't really have
Oh, kind of
honestly
covered that.
honest. Well, we were gonna do. I was gonna show you pictures to everybody,
Oh yeah.
but I was in the midst of trying to figure out how to download pictures from my iCloud to my Mac that's really old. It crashed on me like 7 times. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just not going to do that.
And now we're back to you getting a new laptop.
That's really what it all
Carry on.
amounts to. But yeah, I thought, well, I can't share my screen on my laptop, and it's kind of, it's just too much work to do it on the phone. Even though I could log in on the podcast on the phone, but I just to share your screen and no. So we'll do that another time. I'll actually do a photo show. I'll call it Dad Slideshow after the trip.
Yeah.
But yeah, so no, I don't really have anything an agenda per se.
Well, that's okay. We'll chat for I don't know how much time we got because you look, people. I've mentioned this before. You that are listening, we need money. That's all there is to it. If you want this to be a high production, maybe even me and Jason meeting at the same time together, you gotta have gas money. You gotta pay the bills. You gotta pay the lights. We can't afford on our budget to buy the upgraded Zoom. So all you're going to get for us, as long as we're on Zoom until we can figure Skype out, is about 40 minutes of content
at a time. Now
at a time.
Gene might be able to splice 2 together.
Yeah, we can't splice 2 together when we're feeling frisky, but we're so anyway, so yeah, we could do that, but we're not going to do that tonight because
no,
Jason's married now. I'm married. I have kids. I've
Gene,
got a 4-volume George Washington book to read.
Yeah. Gene's eat up with books and kids over there.
What are you doing exciting this weekend, Gene? Well, I'll be reading George Washington at 9:30 on a Saturday.
Hey, you know what though? You're learning about history, so there you go.
Is true.
Very,
very true. By the way, before I forget, do you ever let's play honest game with Jason? Do you ever look at the podcast that we do, or do you do them and you forget about it?
I do them and forget about them.
Okay, so you never look back. Well,
I don't ever look back, Gene. I ripped out the rearview mirror in that car, man.
You're like Boston. Don't look back.
Exactly. Oh, nice. Off of the Third Stage album. Yes.
Oh, yeah, I would not have known that.
Um,
Jason and I are. I'm just saying. I'm not trying to boast. People shouldn't boast, and I'm not trying to boast. But
boast, Gene. Go ahead, boast.
Yeah. In a fair fight of trivia.
Oh yeah,
Jason and I are somewhat of a force to be reckoned with.
Oh,
especially if you put us with somebody that is, I would say culturally, high class culturally, somebody that knows like ballet, high.
What are you trying to say? What are you trying to say?
European. I'm just saying I don't know anything about ballet, opera, things like that. Then somebody that would know literature. If you put us with somebody, if a third person comes along like that,
we're winning the tournament.
Yep. We're pretty good. And if you add another friend, we have a friend named Jared, and you bring him in with the sports knowledge.
Oh yeah.
We've dominated a few things before, Jason especially. But Jason has this, as we spoke about on here before, an encyclopedic Rolodex of music and movies in his head,
and random knowledge that has nothing to do with anything anybody's talking about. Yeah.
The thing I was going to tell you, you need to check out. I just posted our 3rd installment of Star Wars.
Yeah,
the 3rd part.
Right.
And I'm going to post the next one either this week or early next week. You need to check it out, and that's all I'm going to say to you. You just got to check it out because you're going to love it. and I had a special guest on, and you're going to like it. It's really cool.
Wait,
And I'm going
special
to
guest. Wait a minute.
yeah, I had a special guest,
Aside
and
from me,
oh yeah, oh yeah. I mean,
oh,
you're
geez.
you're special, but this one was
Knuckleball.
a special guest.
Gene's throwing knuckleballs now.
Yeah, this guy, it was a guy, and I think you're going to like. I'm not going to tell you anything about it, but you're just going to have to look it up. It was going to be episode 71, and it was a really cool one, and I think you're going to like it.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, and he's I'll say this much. I hope he's famous one day, but he's not yet famous. So you'll like it.
Uh-oh. Dramatic pause. Okay, now what?
Yeah. I'm trying to get some dead air to see if people think their radio's broken.
Like,
I'm trying to think of you have any we didn't really talk about this. I'm not trying to go back to your wedding, but I know that was
yeah.
the most recent thing that happened.
Yeah.
Usually on a wedding, there's something extremely funny that happened. Was there any extremely funny moments at your wedding? I mean, not at your wedding or your honeymoon, I should say, or in any time in between.
Well, I mean, the wedding, just hanging out with my guys up in the groomsmen, dressing room was fun all day because we were there from 2:30 in the afternoon on. And my wedding wasn't until 6:30. And just good conversation up there. Nothing really crazy happened there. I mean, my youngest nephew decided to lay on the floor during the reception in the middle of the day.
I saw that.
And play with the spring. He was just chilling out.
That was pretty funny.
When his mom asked him, it said because it's cool down here because he was burning up. And so he was like, "It's cool on the floor." And somebody got some funny pictures of that. But
I think that's pretty good that you didn't have any
no, I mean,
any crazy, embarrassing, funny moments on your honeymoon or anything. It seems like every time couples go do a honeymoon, like they have something that happened that just cracked them up or they laughed about.
All right. I'll tell you about one incident. We did have an incident at the very end of it. Over in the country of Iceland, we rented a Hyundai i10. I think I told you about this high performance vehicle that we rented. Not
the 10 horsepower.
Yeah, going downhill with a tailwind. So we had to return it. We came back to Reykjavik on the last night, the capital, and stayed in more of the party section of the town, which was a whole funny incident in itself because even with the windows shut, it was party all night, like craziness outside.
Like some weird Icelandic music you've never heard.
Not just noise and talking and people, right in front of each other yelling, But we went and parked the car in a parking garage and thought, okay, well, we'll just, get up early in the morning and go get it. And we decided, let's go get some stuff out of the car just for the heck of it. Well, we go back there and the parking garage is closed, like gates down, like garage doors on the parking garage down and everything. We're like, wait a minute. Why is it closed? And so we went back to the hotel and the hotel manager's like, I know which parking lot that is. He goes, there's actually a side door that's open. You can go in there. And so we went in there and got the stuff out and we decided to try to drive down to see if it's like parking garages here, where if your car is already in there and you drive it up to the gate will open, the whole garage door will roll open. You can at least leave, but you just can't go back in. So no, it was not like that. And so we go back and we're like, oh, what do we do? And so the hotel owner said, well, one of two things. You can either get up and just go because they open at 7 a.m. Or you can leave the keys here, tell the rental car company where the car is and which hotel you're in, and they can come get the keys for me, and you just pay a fee. And of course, then we would have had to pay for a taxi to the airport. And the airport's about an hour and 15 minutes from Reykjavik. It's actually in a place called Keflavik.
Oh, wow.
And the volcano that erupted is kind of in between Keflavik and Reykjavik. Anyway, so we decided to get up that morning, just go. We actually got to sleep in a little bit more than we thought. And we left, but our flight leaves at 9:30 and we're leaving at 7. So do the math. That gives us an hour and a half in the airport before our flight leaves. Now, Amanda couldn't check in. My wife couldn't check in from the app on her phone for said airline that we took. And she couldn't figure out why. I could check in. She couldn't. It was weird. So we're flying to the airport. this really convoluted, crazy rental car return place, and we like sprinted across the parking lot with our suitcases. Got in line at the airport, which is a one security line, was crazy long because they're just had this influx of visitors recently, and so they're still trying to cope with that. Get through that security line, nothing big happens. I mean, Amanda has to take off her shoes and do some, but which you don't normally have to do in Europe. So then we realize we go running down towards this next place, and we realize no, there's two security checkpoints because you're leaving Iceland, and then you have another one for leaving the EU. So we had to go through that line, and then we're sitting there looking at time like we're going to miss our flight. There's no way we're going to get it. She still couldn't check in, so we were running down. I mean, full on Home Alone, running through the airport.
That's pretty fun.
Down to the gate, and we get to the gate, and they tell her Amanda is selected for a secondary security screening, and we didn't know why. And they kept saying her shoes, and so they swabbed everything down, swabbed her shoes, and they're like, "Yeah, this is the problem." We're like, "What the heck?" And in the meantime, they're asking me all these questions like, "Where did you go in Iceland? How'd you get there? How'd you do this?" And I'm going, "Oh gosh, what's going on?" I said, "Well, that's my wife. I'm not leaving her in the airport." He said, "Well, look, let me just tell you, because she got selected for a secondary security screening, we already knew that, so they're holding the plane because of that." So that was nice.
Yeah.
We were those people though. But apparently she had gone when she went to Vancouver with her friend Cheryl, who was one of her bridesmaids. They had gone through an area of Vancouver she said was pretty disturbing because there was homeless people shooting up heroin.
Oh,
apparently that's what they found on her shoes. There was enough heroin.
Traces of heroin?
Traces of heroin. So if you ever wonder how sensitive the security screening equipment is, she'd wash those shoes like twice.
Wow.
And I told her, I said, we're not taking them to travel in shoes from now on. So she told them the story, and they're like, oh my gosh. So anyway, note to self, note to everyone listening, if you're ever traveling and you go through a very high heroin use area, don't travel with those shoes on ever again.
Wow.
So yeah, that was our only hiccup for our whole trip. I mean, we did a lot of driving around ourselves during this trip, and we kind of set the schedule ourselves. So if we didn't get to somewhere, it was our own fault, but we really didn't have that problem.
Wow. I feel like
yeah.
Wow.
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 It's
wow.
Like, you gotta do it like this.
Wow.
I don't understand.
That's really cool. Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, that was our only weird incident there. And then on the way back, we actually paid for the Delta Sky Club in Minneapolis. It was their brand new Sky Club, big lounge that they put in there. $50 for a day. For just that day pass. $50 for both of us together. And you go in there and it's unlimited buffet, soft drinks and coffee, all you want. You have to pay for your alcoholic drinks, but man, great chairs to sit in. You got a view of the airport. I'm like, man, I will tell anybody, if you have enough of a layover, do that. Go to that Sky Lounge. It is worth it. So much better than sitting in the uncomfortable terminal chairs. But anyway, so yeah, I mean, it was good. It was just
that's a pretty funny story. Yeah. I had to. I can't. I'm looking forward to your old man
dad
slideshow.
Dad in the living room slideshow. Yeah.
Well, I was just thinking about I do have a funny story, so don't let me forget it. About my kids that I'll tell in a minute. But I was just thinking for my honeymoon if there was anything funny, because I asked you about that, and as I was saying it, I was thinking, did I actually have anything that was funny for mine? And I was trying to relive it because it's been over 7 years ago. And I remember losing my sunglasses and remembering that I left them back at the church. And we were like a mile down the road, and you're a mile down the road, you're like, then you got to turn around and go back to the where the reception was. And then you're like, well, I don't want to be like, hey everybody, I'm back. And so I tried to sneak around and get my sunglasses. That was
in reality, you could have texted one of us and said, hey, can you look for my sunglasses?
That's true.
But I know you're a bit discombobulated on your wedding day. That's just how it is.
And I was trying to think of, the only things that really happened. We went to Orlando, Florida, and then we also went to the beach. And I'm trying to think if there was anything other than the typical stuff that you might see that's kind of goofy in Florida, there wasn't really too much that was too crazy or funny. We went to a few discoveries that I had. I don't know if I ever told you this when we went to Disney World and we went to Universal Studios. A cool thing when we went to the Harry Potter, this place, we went, with the Harry Potter. I'm sure Harry did potty, but Harry Potter. I'm so used to saying potty all the time with my kids. You know, did you go potty? Go potty. When you go potty. When we went there, everybody that was there, like my wife and I were walking around, you know, we interact with everybody every now and then.
Right.
Interacted with a stranger here and like, you know, it's all to say, oh, hello. We're like, oh, British person. That's cool. And then another person, they say, wait, they've got a British accent too. We went over there and another person had a British accent. And then finally, after about overhearing and interacting with like 10 different strangers around Disney World and there, like, why are running so many people with British accents? And then because nobody's here with like an Australian one or anything else. These are clearly people from Britain. And so we finally just one guy, and I was like, sorry to bother you, but we noticed a lot of people here are British. And he's like, well, we're on holiday right now. It was like, oh, see, our thinking was because of the timing that we had for our wedding, which is middle of August or so. And we figure, okay, well, maybe kids will be back to school. Won't be all that bad. But we get down there and it's just as crowded as you would expect. However,
just with British people.
It's a bunch of British people because they were all on holiday, as they call it.
Yeah.
So they were all going down there. And man, I saw plenty of people throwing the cash down, like for the fast passes and everything. I mean, of course, the pound, especially back in 2015, would have been worth more than the dollar. So
they were almost twice as much. Yeah.
I mean, I guess it was nothing for them to throw down $100 for something. But that was funny. Finding that out because we're kind of like, oh, it's kind of cool to be in Harry Potter's exhibit here and see
and have a bunch of British people.
You kind of feel like you're in the actual Harry Potter because everybody.
You had a really cool experience then, actually.
Speaking the King's English there. So I don't have to get used to not saying the Queen's English.
You don't have to say either if you don't want to. You can say English. But what's funny is people don't realize, I'm sure a lot of people listening do realize, especially the aforementioned Monty, that if you can go to Disney World and spend more than you do on a European vacation, because it's so, like, if you do the full on whatever, you definitely spend more. Like, I wonder how my parents did it back in the day. And I asked my mom that one time and she goes, well, that's because I got free tickets with Coke. I was like, oh, that makes sense.
It was certainly cheaper too back in the 70s, 80s, I would think.
Well, yeah, but you look at it, you adjust it though, and it's still expensive.
Well, I mean, I was just thinking maybe even adjusted. I don't know. I was just thinking even adjusted for inflation, it might be a little bit cheaper.
Just to give you an idea, back when we went for the first time in '85, I think it was $65 a ticket per person per day. And that's a lot. That was a lot back then.
Yeah, I don't know. That's nowadays that's a big, that's not an easy price.
That's like Six Flags now. But like you can imagine, and so we always stayed in Kissimmee or somewhere like that, just off property, because to stay on property, it's convenient, but man, it's expensive. And then I don't know how, eating and everything, because we ate out everywhere we went. We weren't one of those families that stayed in a efficiency hotel room and cooked or any of that mess. But I remember going to Universal the first year it opened, that kind of thing, and thinking, man, this is so not Disney World.
I think I went to, I don't know if that was 90. That's when I went.
Yeah, that's close. I mean, it was like
89 or 90.
We were there the last time Jaws was open for 3.5 years. They shut it down after the exact day we were there, because we were in line and it kept breaking down, and they told us, sorry, the ride's closed in the middle of the line, and it didn't open for 3.5 years, and now that's where Harry Potter World is. But yeah, it's just funny. Because Amanda, my wife, and I were talking about that. And we're like, she's like, we have kids. We'll take them there once, but she's like, we're taking our kids to Europe. We're going to spend that money somewhere else.
I'll say this for the Harry Potter exhibit, by the way, if nobody's been,
Yeah.
it's worth going because it's done well. Just to see
Yeah. I want to see that. I do want to see that really badly.
And there's two parts to it. I think you have to pay for both, maybe, but because Universal is weird. It has like two areas, and then like one's almost a water park, and for some reason, the Harry Potter it's in two different sections.
It straddles both of them, I think.
I can't remember what they're called, but one of them is in one world and another is in another. So basically, when you go into, I'll just say this: they're fun to look at, and it's kind of fun to just take it in.
Yeah.
But the food is actually good. Go eat at their restaurants when you're there.
Yeah.
The Harry Potter restaurant, we ate at one of them and it was excellent.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
And drink the beer, the
butter beer,
the butter beer, and the frozen butter beer. We liked even more. It was almost kind of like one of these frozen Cokes or frozen cherries, but it was like kind of had a I'm trying to think of the word. I don't want to say I can't even think of the word for it, but it was good. It was real good. So, story. I was funny story that I had recently. So, a few weeks back, I was trying to get my kids to go to bed. I was like, all right, y'all go potty. Speaking of Harry Potty, go potty and get your jammies on. That's usually the routine. Go potty, put your jammies on, brush your teeth, go to bed. That's the routine, probably for most parents. And so that's okay. That's great. And a lot of times while they're doing that, I'll go, finish cleaning up their toys in the living room or whatever. So I go in the living room and I look out my front door. And as I'm looking out, one of my neighbors has probably an 18 to 20-year-old daughter, and they have another daughter, and they have this, van that she drives around. That's her mode of transportation. So she's coming up, and they're almost directly across the street. She's coming up the street, and I noticed that she ain't moving. Like she's in the van. She's kind of like doing this number, and I look at the back, and the sister is trying to push. She's trying to push this heavy minivan. It's sort of a hill, and she's trying to get it up in there. And so I'm like, what is this? So I kind of walk down the driveway. I think you need help, don't you? He goes, yes, please. And so I go back there. I was like, what's happening? And she's like, we think the transmission, because it was going, and she was just trying to get it up just enough to go into the driveway. And I was like, all right, let's just push. And my other neighbor, he comes out with his daughter, and they just happen to see us, and they run down and they get it. So we're like four of us are trying to push on this thing. As I'm pushing, I look back up into the house randomly. We're all pushing as hard as we can, and it's moving about 8 inches a second. Not fast at all. We're hardly even getting it. And I look up there, and my son and daughter are looking back at us at the door. They're just kind of doing one of these numbers. And she's got her jammies on, and my son has got his shirt on. That's it. He's just got his shirt on, looking right out the door.
Oh my gosh.
Flashing the whole neighborhood. And I'm looking back like, go back in. And so I'm motioning to come back. But it was a funny moment, but they're not, everybody else was trying, they didn't see anything. It's just it's just one of those things. You're just like, you look up and you're like, son, stay away from the door. Anyway, so
wow.
But anyway, we eventually got them into the driveway. We pushed much harder. I mean, it was a really, really heavy minivan. I mean, it was wow.
Well, plus you had to probably push through a bad transmission. So
yeah, it was almost like she had the brake on. But we eventually got it there, and I think they got it fixed. But and another funny thing, which you know about, and this is embarrassing, but Monty might appreciate it. I know you're listening, Monty. And since you've listened this long, if you're trying to change out the back of an engine, not the engine, but the oil pressure valve that you kind of screw down in there, be careful how you torque that thing down, because I broke mine off as I was trying to torque it down. And I ended up having to change out the housing on it, and that housing was $300 to change. And not only that, but I had to get my mechanic to do it, and I had to have it towed to the mechanic, and the mechanic changed it, and that was about to the tune of $900. So I went from hopefully only being a $10 repair to a $900 plus dollars. It's something you can laugh back at, but it's still not too funny yet.
I'd like to say I have no idea what you're talking about, but I think I have multiple occasions of knowing what you're talking about.
Oh, so you've had similar instances.
I've I've had some instances that weren't really my fault, like one little tiny basically mounting bracket breaks on an intake manifold for an engine, and it turns into a $3,000 repair because they don't make a repair for that. You have to buy the entire intake manifold.
And you feel about the first time I've done this sort of thing, you feel like an inch tall, don't you?
Oh yeah. Well, and that's happened to me where everybody stripped a bolt, rounded off a head of a bolt.
Everybody's got to screw their car up once, right?
Yep. I have many stories on that. That could be a whole podcast series on my car incidences. But hence why I'm on car number 17 right now.
Maybe that'll be next week.
That's right. That. It's like, what have you
Jason's
driven?
car sagas.
But yeah, there's so many instances where, and it happens with a lot of things. This happened to me with, electronics, things like that, where I've screwed something up and it's like, oh, you just gotta bite the bullet and go, well, I learned that lesson. It's never fun, but
yeah,
it happens.
Yeah, and it's really painful when you think to yourself, man, if only I'd been more careful. I mean, I had to talk myself off the ledge because you just want to beat yourself up like crazy when you're like,
I mean, I've been there too.
And the wife is like, don't worry, it just happens. And I'm like,
oh man,
I know, but
me and our mutual friend Scott, we were removing his transmission. We're tugging and pulling on that thing, and Scott says I did it, but I'm like, well, you're the one that was telling me to pull the thing. Anyway, so we're pulling this thing out, and he had did everything, but for some reason, one of these little high temperature plastic cooling hose brackets was there, and all of a sudden I'm pulling, and then it's just purple rain because his coolant's purple, and it was just all down. And so we got the transmission off, darn it. But we had to he had to replace the little connector on the back, basically. And it was one of those situations where they don't make just the connector, so you have to buy the entire hose assembly. So what turned into, I still helped him with it. He wouldn't have been able to do it without that, but you kind of feel like, oh crap, because first you don't know. In that case, it's like I can't even see what's broken because it's on the back of this really overcrowded engine on top of where the transmission was, and then it's just, just crazy stuff. So you're having to clean up a mess and pick up your pride a little bit too.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, so we all have those crazy stories like that. This was called Random Talk of the Now.
Well, we did talk about funny stories, so that's okay.
We did, yeah. We could call it a funny thing happened.
Funny thing happened.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, there's so many instances like that, and it's my car, other people's cars, electronics.
I tried to.
These, your cell phone. How many times have you done stupid stuff and broke a screen?
Or jumped in a pool.
Yeah,
realizing it's in your pocket.
Right, something like that.
Not that I would ever do that, except maybe twice.
No, never. Yeah. Jumped in a toilet. I did that once.
Jumped in a toilet.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the worst when you're. I think actually I did do that recently. Because who doesn't take their smartphone to the toilet? And I stood up and thought it was in my pocket, and nope, it just took a nosedive. I'm pretty sure it jumped out of my pocket into the toilet, and somehow or another, I grabbed it out fast enough to where it did not get any water damage, and it was cool.
And then Gene sterilized his hand for about 2 hours after that.
Yes, I did. I got my acetylene torch out.
Yeah.
So I tried to get Scott on, by the way, if you could believe that. Our friend Scott will not come on this thing. I've been trying to get him to come on.
Yeah,
I'm just like, Scott,
I don't want to
just come on and talk cars with us. We'll just be like conversation.
Yeah.
Maybe you can talk him into it.
Yeah, I doubt it, but I'll try.
All right. All right. Well, let's end this thing before Zoom ends us.
Yep.
Thanks everybody for joining us, and we'll see you later. And adios, amigo, Jasonian,
Das vidanya,
the
comrades. Yes.
Jasonian Institute of
Random
car
knowledge.
buying.
Yes.
Where's
All
my
right.
recording button? I'm trying to
It's going to cut us off anyway.
Maybe we should just run it out to it. Stops us.
That's right. How long can it go? 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 It's awesome. Well.
There it is. There's the stop button.